Donald Trump just became the first sitting U.S. president to address a crypto conference. In pre-recorded remarks played Thursday at Blockworks Digital Asset Summit in New York, Trump declared that the U.S. would dominate crypto and the next generation of financial technologies.
A very big hello to everyone at the Blockworks Digital Assets Summit. It's an honor to speak with you about how the United States is going to dominate crypto and the next generation of financial technologies. And it's not going to be easy, but we're way ahead.
He also slammed Operation Chokepoint 2.0, describing it as a form of warfare through government weaponization that went beyond regulation. In this historic address, Trump urged Congress to pass legislation that would establish simple, common-sense rules for stablecoins and market structure. And he also added that dollar-backed stablecoins could help reinforce the dominance of the US dollar on the global stage. On that note, World Liberty Financial, a DeFi protocol and governance platform inspired by Donald Trump, just announced its plans to launch USD1, a stablecoin fully backed one-to-one by US dollar reserves held in custody at BitGo. Sensible legislation would certainly boost the chances of a product like this finding success. In Bitcoin news, Bitcoin is up 3% in the last 24 hours and 16% from March lows, driven by reports that upcoming US tariffs on major trading partners may be far less severe than expected. The price of Bitcoin climbed from $84,000 to $88,600 between Sunday and Monday morning after reports emerged that President Trump is likely to go with a narrower tariff measure than initially suggested. Trump is set to announce new tariffs April 2nd, targeting trade partners like Canada, China, and Mexico. While he had previously indicated that these would include both reciprocal and sector-specific tariffs, unnamed White House officials told Bloomberg and the Wall Street Journal that only reciprocal tariffs are likely to be included in the final announcement. The more measured approach appears to have calmed fears of an all-out trade war, lifting both crypto and equity markets. As Dan Greer, CEO of DeFi app, told Fortune, Bitcoin's price is responding to the uncertainty and stress in the market. This kind of volatility is typical during times of economic shift. Bitcoin isn't the only asset reacting. Ethereum is up 4% and Solana jumped 8%. Meanwhile, the Nasdaq and S&P 500 both rose 2% in the same 24-hour window, adding $1.35 trillion to the equities markets. Over at the White House, President Trump's newly appointed executive director of the President's Council of Advisors on Digital Assets, Bo Hines, has been making the media rounds, and he's saying all the right things.
We've made monumental strides in the first 8 weeks, really just to unburden the industry from what the Biden regulatory regime did. You know, President Trump talked about at the crypto summit last week, making sure that we're removing all the regulatory rules and initiatives that undergirded Operation Chokepoint 2.0. And for your viewers, what that was basically an attempt to stop institutional banks from interacting with digital asset firms. So this is something that we're working through with the internal working group established in President Trump's first executive order to really clear the deck and allow this industry to thrive.
Hines confirms that the administration is taking steps to reverse Operation Chokepoint 2.0, something the previous White House flat out denied even existed. Hines went so far as to say that the U.S. is looking to acquire as much Bitcoin as possible.
It's high time that our president started accumulating assets for the American people, which is what President Trump is doing, rather than taking it away. And I think that's one thing that we really wanted to make clear in this executive order. And we're looking forward to working with our partners at Treasury and the Secretary of Commerce in order to find those budget neutral ways in which we can acquire more. You know, I've been asked all the time, it's like, how much do you want? And I said, well, that's like asking a country, how much gold do you want? Right? I mean, as much as we can get.
How times have changed. Senator Cynthia Lummis, the architect of the Bitcoin Act, echoed that sentiment during her appearance at New York Bitcoin Investor Week. She outlined a potential plan where the U.S. could sell gold certificates to buy Bitcoin. Take a listen to what she said.
The U.S. government to take gold certificates, which we hold them at about a 1974 value, which was, I don't know, $46 an ounce or some such thing, and then bring them to market value and then use that to buy Bitcoin. If we did that, we could probably buy 200,000 Bitcoin every year for 5 years, hold them for 20 years, and not use a single new taxpayer dollar to do it. So, you know, this is a very doable thing.
And speaking of buying Bitcoin, Michael Saylor is at it again. Strategy just announced a 584 million Bitcoin purchase, acquiring 6,911 BTC between March 17th and March 23rd. That brings the company's total holdings to over 500,000 Bitcoin. Their average cost basis now stands at 66,608 per coin, and that investment is already yielding a 7.7% return in 2025. In regulatory news, the US Treasury has lifted sanctions on Tornado Cash, the crypto mixer it once accused of helping North Korea launder millions in stolen crypto. In a statement, the Treasury said it had exercised our discretion to delist Tornado Cash from the sanctions list after a lengthy legal battle. Sanctions had previously made it illegal for Americans or US businesses to transact with the platform. Despite the delisting, the Treasury says it's still deeply concerned about the threat North Korea poses via cybercrime. Meanwhile, South Korea is taking a very different approach. The country's financial intelligence unit is preparing to sanction several unregistered overseas crypto exchanges, including BitMEX, KuCoin, CoinW, BitTunix, and KCEX, for offering services to Koreans without using proper registration. The FIU says it's actively reviewing blocking access to these platforms and is gathering data on investor harm to justify stricter enforcement. In January, KuCoin agreed to pay nearly $300 million after pleading guilty to operating as an unlicensed money transmitting business. The platform's founders were also charged last March. We can expect concrete enforcement actions later this year. And finally, South Korea's central bank has weighed in on Bitcoin as a reserve asset, and the answer is a hard no. The Bank of Korea said it's not considering adding Bitcoin to its foreign exchange reserves, citing high volatility and potential conversion costs. That is a far cry from where the US is at right now, to be sure. That's all for today. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to follow along for more and head over to bitgo.com to learn more.